All right, question 39, again, is about a scatter plot. So make a little note for yourself. We are trying to find a trend line. And the way that we do that is with our patty paper, because again, you will not have this on paper. You will have this on your computer screen. So you need to use that patty paper in order to draw the trend line and figure out where everything is. So we have our trend line, which would go, oops, not there, in the middle of all of these dots. And then we're going to answer those questions. The data shows that as the age of a person increases, the amount of time they spend texting during the day, and we'll look at the graph. So a 15-year-old, because this is how many years they are, spends approximately close to 5 hours texting. And then a 45-year-old spends approximately 1.5 hours of texting. So we can see that as the age of a person increases, the amount of time they spend texting decreases. If you look at this trend line, it is also a negative slope. So therefore, that means if one thing increases, the other decreases, and also the other way around. If one thing decreases, the other increases. A person who is 20-year-old spends approximately blank hours texting on their phone. So 20 years is over here. So I'm going to go ahead and start here at 20. Move up until I touch my trend line. Go to the other side. I know this is 4 and that's 5. So in the middle is 4.5. And then I ended up somewhere in the middle of that. So it's close to 4, not quite 4.5. Therefore, 4.25 would be your best answer. Question 40 is another scatter plot. Same thing, you are going to use patty paper. Oops. So on that patty paper, you are drawing a straight line that you can then make a trend line with. Again, a trend line is in the middle of all the dots, so do your best to actually make it in the middle of all the dots. So it says it shows the number of employees in 14 different office buildings and the number of water consumed from the office water cooler in a month. So there are 2 correct answer choices. It says as the number of employees increases, the number of gallons of water decreases. So again, here's 10 employees. They drink about 50 gallons of water. And then here's 70 employees, and it looks like they're drinking a lot more water. So this would be false. They would both increase. As you can see, it is a positive slope. So that means if one thing increases, the other will also increase. Or if one thing decreases, the other thing will also decrease. An office with 50 employees would likely consume 350 gallons of water. So I'm finding where I have 50 employees. This is the number of employees, so 50. Start there, go up to your trend line, and then from there, check where you end up. It looks like we end up at 250, so therefore this is incorrect. The data shows a strong positive association. Again, we already said that this was a positive slope, so therefore this would be correct. An office building that consumed 475 gallons of water likely has 95 employees. So we're going to find 475 gallons. So again, this is gallons, so I'm looking at my y-axis first. I see 450 and I see 500, so I know the center of that is the 475. Start there, go to the side until you touch your trend line, and then go down. So it looks like according to my prediction, it would be close to 100 employees. So this one might be correct. So depending on how accurate that last statement is what I'm going to decide. It said there is a non-linear association between the number of employees in a building and the number of gallons of water. So remember that linear means a fancy word for a straight line. So we can make a straight line in the middle of all of these points. So therefore it is linear. So the fact that they're saying it's a non-linear association is false. Non-linear would mean that your points are kind of scattered all over the place and you can't really draw a straight line in the middle of all the dots. So therefore, this would also be correct. All right, question 41 is all about interest. So Trent deposits $2,125 into each of two savings accounts. Account W earns a 3.25% annual simple interest. Account Y earns 3.25 interest compounded annually. He doesn't make any additional deposits or withdrawals. Determine whether each statement is true or false based on the account information given. So we know for sure it's $2,125. We know for sure account W has 3.25% and is simple interest. We know for sure account Y is also 3.25%, but this one is compound interest. And we're not told the time just yet. So let's look at the first statement. It says account W will have a balance of approximately $207 after 3 years. So this is where I'm given a time. It also says the word balance. Balance tells me total. So using logic here, I know that total means everything. If I start with $2,125, does it make sense that the total will end up being $207? No, it does not. So I could already, without any calculations, know that that answer is going to be false. But just in case you want the calculations, here they are. Since it says simple, you would use the formula I equals PRT. You would do the 2,125, multiply it by your rate, and then multiply it by your time. When you do that, you would get an answer of 207.19 rounded. This, what you calculated right here, is just your interest based on that formula. So if you wanted to know the total, you would have to add your initial $2,125, and that would give you an answer of $2,332. So therefore, this was false. The next statement says that account Y will earn approximately $368 in interest after 5 years. So account Y is compound, so I have to use a different formula. That's A equals P parentheses 1 plus R to the power of T. These formulas are on your besties, so make sure that you are using that to your advantage. So when you plug in all of your numbers, it is 2,125 parentheses 1 plus 3.25% to the power of your 5 years. Remember, to get to the exponent, any number that you want, you have to press this little hat button on your calculator. It is next to the x squared. When you do this, you would get an answer of $2,493.49. However, the question was saying the interest. Because we use the compound formula, this is the amount or everything on my account, not just the free money. So to figure out how much free money or interest I got, I need to go ahead and subtract that initial value or your principal, and you would end up with $368.49, which is approximately that number. Therefore, the second statement is true. And finally, it says after about 10 years, account Y will earn approximately $110.30 more in interest than account W. So the only thing that's changing about the formula that I just did is I'm going to change the time to 10 years. And when I do that, because everything else stays the same, my rate stays the same, my principal stays the same. When I do that, I get an answer of $2,925.90. The question said interest, so I do need to subtract my initial balance. And that leaves me with an answer of $800.90. Now, we do need to compare this to the other account. So I need to also calculate what the simple interest account would be at with 10 years. And when I do that, it gives me an answer of $690.62. So again, I know this is interest because my formula is I equals PRT. So now I have to compare how much more one will earn than the other. I know for sure account Y, that was this guy, earns more than account W. So that part is correct, that account Y will earn more. Now to figure out how much more, I'm going to subtract those two values. And that would give you an answer of $110.28, which is approximately $110.30. So therefore, this last statement is also true. That was a really long question. All right, question 42 says that Tamika has $4,000 to invest for 6 years, and the table shows her two investments that she could make. Investment R is a 2.8%. It says simple. Investment 2 is 2.5, but it says compound. She'll make no additional deposits. Which investment earns the greater amount of interest? So that's what I'm focusing on over the period of 6 years. So we have to calculate for both with interest. Simple means I equals PRT. So you would multiply the 4,000 times the 2.8% times the 6 years, which would give you an answer of 672. Again, what you just calculated is the interest, so keep it at that. Then compound, different formula. So we're going to replace our numbers in the formula. Careful, because your percentage this time is different. Your percentage for the compound formula is 2.5%. So just be careful. When you do that, you get an answer of $4,638.77. This, however, is all of it, or the amount. So we are going to subtract the initial 4,000 to be left with an answer of $638.77. Therefore, we know that the first investment is going to give her a greater amount of interest. Therefore, investment R would be better. And then asks how much better. So we're going to go ahead and subtract those two values from each other. And we will be left with an answer of $33.22, or approximately $33.23. And last but not least, 43. Benito invested $3,575 into a college savings account. It pays 5.3 annual simple interest, and he made no additional deposits or withdrawals. What is the balance, so the total in dollars and cents, on the college savings account at the end of 8 years? Now, because it said simple, I need to use the simple interest formula. So my 3,575 times the rate times the years, which is going to give me $1,515.80. This, however, is your interest according to your formula. Therefore, if I want to know the total, I need to add my initial deposit, my principal, and that would give me a final answer of $5,090.80. So that is exactly what you would fill in the blank. Alrighty. Well, I hope these explanations helped, and if you still have any more questions, make sure you ask away and I can go ahead and answer.